Mike, if you were the czar of the USGA.
Am I not?
Well, this czar would be able to just create edicts.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
like
that
a king.
definitely doesn't exist.
So, CEO plus. What would be a rule change that you would make?
Oh, God, you're killing me. Let me think about that. I'll come back to you.
Mike Whan, he's been so effective in his job for a number of reasons. One is golf's fun. Most people are drawn to golf because it's fun. The USGA, fairly or not fairly, has looked like the stern father of golf. And golf needed a face that was just more fun because the game is fun. It's challenging, but it's fun, and he represents that. He took over an organization that richly and correctly has a reputation for being very stuffy and full of itself. He is not stuffy and full of himself, and that's filtering down through the organization at a time when the USGA really needs that message to get out.
This is a very modest gift. I know you must be now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I modified it. They had a pom-pom on it.
I like the pom-pom too.
Well, the pom-pom's off.
Okay,
you're
got it.
Okay,
good.
But anyway. What was your start in golf?
First job was I caddied for 2 months. Hated it. You know, first you gotta not talk. That's a problem for me. And you know, I'm watching somebody else play golf. But my dad would drop me off in the morning. I forget what the number was, but he'd say something like, "When I pick you up, you have to have $28." And the only way to have $28 is you have to do 2 loops. You had to go in the morning, go in the afternoon. I did it for a couple weeks, but I met the greenskeeper at the club. Said to me, he took me into the barn, you know, the big barn of all the riding apparatus. I don't know how he picked me out, but he walked me into the barn and he said, "If you can make it through one summer as a bunker boy," that's what he called it, "I'm going to teach you how to ride all the stuff in this barn." I mean, you're 13, you know, riding that stuff in the barn. That was better than anything. And I said, "What's a bunker boy?" And he said, "You got to go one summer edging, weeding, like all you do every day for a summer." I always tell people, like, if you see a young kid in a bunker edging and weeding, go hug that kid because he's having the worst summer of his life.
Right.
But if you make it through that summer, middle of that summer, we moved to Cincinnati.
The summer that you were the bunker boy?
Yeah, so we moved to Cincinnati, and I went right to a course when we got to Cincinnati. And the guy didn't really have the same bunker boy thing, but he said, "What were you doing in Chicago?" I said, "Edging and weeding." And he said, "We got that." So I ended up working Coldstream Country Club, Cincinnati, until I graduated from college. I mean, I went to school at Miami of Ohio, so during the summers, I'd come back 5:30 to 2:30. My friends thought that was crazy that I'd go to work at 5:30. A number of times, I would have people drop me off from going out the night before, and they'd just drop me off at the barn. I had a key. There was a couch in the barn. So, you know, if we were coming home at 1 o'clock in the morning, I would just take me to the barn. I would just sleep in the barn, and our superintendent was Cal. Cal would come in the morning, shake me, and I'd go cut the greens, dressed in what I went out with the night before, you know. But I didn't want to be late, didn't want to sleep in, and I've never had problems with mornings. I said every morning that I drove to that golf course, and as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 14-year-old, I thought to myself, I can't wait until I get my degree, then do real work. I never thought I was working on my career. I just thought I had a summer job.
Right.
Turns out it was the beginning of a 30-year journey.
Wow.
You get 2 strong messages from that. One is joy. He loved what he does. And the other is drive. He wants to, you could call in sick when you're hungover. No, this guy's going to show up and do the job. So I think that's a great combination. Drive and joy is an unbeatable combination in life, in my opinion, and I think Mike Whan exhibits that.
All right, well, we're up to this golf course that we're going to see. I'm sure you haven't been there. I suspect you haven't been there. But Andy North has been there.
Really?
One of the places he likes to hit balls.
All right, nice.
And it might be a little bit like that 9-holer that you first played.
Oh, good.
So I think the credibility he has in the game, it comes from deep within him because he knows his own path in the game. He knows how he rose from bunker boy to LPGA commissioner to CEO of the USGA. So I think the credibility comes from actually deep within him, who he is as a person.
What were you doing prior to taking that LPGA job?
I ran a hockey equipment company. So I was, when I left TaylorMade, I went as the CEO of a company called Mission Hockey, which started as a roller hockey company out in California, and then expanded to Dice. And then we bought a company in Toronto called iTech, and so the company became Mission iTech. And Nike was #1 with Bauer, and Nike officially announced publicly, and back in the day, USA Today, that they were selling Bauer. So I grabbed my banker and my CFO, and we fly out to, I think the deal was in Boston, and I'm going to buy Bauer, put the two brands together. And this retired judge they had hired to be the negotiator would walk in and he'd unzip this thing and he'd say, current offer on the table is, whatever, 412 million, would you like to counter? And you'd say 422, and he'd be gone for 4 hours. We do this for a full day. And day two, we're sitting there, I looked at my CFO and I'm like, this is silly. Like, I'm going to end this. Let's either buy this thing or not buy this thing. And he goes, Mike, don't let your patience get the best of you. Like, hang in there. This is how these things go. So Hal walks in. I'm like, Hal, what's the number? He throws a number. I said, I'm going to give you 20 million more than that, but you got 15 minutes to take it or leave it. So go call Nike, do whatever you got to do. But like this game thing, but that's the best offer you're going to get. You know it and I know it. Call them and let's get this deal done. So Hal stuck out his hand and he said, hey, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate you flying in from California. And he starts walking out. And my CFO's saying, like, stop him. And I'm like, he'll turn around. Like, he knows the game. And he kept walking. And I've never seen Hal again the rest of my life. So I get back and remember the old days with the red light on your phone is blinking. And I checked the messages and the guy said, my name is so-and-so. I'm with Kohlberg Capital. We just bought Bauer today. So I had breakfast with the guy in the morning and he slides me a card with a number on it and said, we'd like to buy you guys. And so I fly back from buying Bauer to tell my bosses I think we should sell. First time in my life, like I'd sold something and they wire transferred money into my account and I felt like such an adult, couldn't wait to call my dad.
Right.
Like, and look what I did, as the CEO of this company. And took my wife to dinner. She goes, well, what are you gonna do? Like, and I said, well, we made a little bit of money, right? And she goes, yeah, I know, but like we're not retiring and you're gonna go crazy and drive me crazy if you stay home. So what are you gonna do? So, after a couple of bottles of red wine, I said, I'm going to make you 3 promises, which, any husband knows that's the beginning of the end. So I said, promise number 1 is I'm going to never, she loved living in Southern California. I'm going to never make you leave Southern California. This is where you want to raise your kids. This is where you want home for the rest of your life. So let's put down long-term roots. And that was 3 states ago. And I said, number 2 is I'm going to take 1 year off and I'm going to do all the stuff about the other dads you tell me about. I'm going to pick up the kids at the pickup line. I'm going to coach Little League and I'm going to write a book, all things that I did. None of them I did well. But so I said, whatever I do next, I promise you I just won't travel. Like I'm going to find a job where I can come home at 6 and you'd be part of the cookouts with the neighbors. And so a year later, I took the job as the LPGA commissioner, moved to Florida, traveled virtually every week straight.
Yes.
Traveled virtually every week. I mean, I made the one when I accepted the job in October. I said to the board of the LPGA, listen, I'm already 0 for 2 on my 3 promises. I'm going to start January 1 if you can live with that, so I can at least tell my wife I didn't work for a year.
Wow, this is wildly spruced up. No, it really.
Spruced up?
Yeah, very much so.
Arrived.
When I was growing up on the grounds crew, the guys who worked in the shop would always make fun of the guys on the grounds crew. And those guys would say to me, why do you do that? Like, why do you get up and you never get a tip? Like, you don't get any tips on that? I said, guys, you know how like things get really busy about 4 o'clock? Like, yeah. And I said, well, that's when I'm teeing off every day. So it's up to you, but I'm not working in some shop until 9 o'clock at night, cleaning somebody else's clubs.
$18 green fee, can't beat it.
Nice.
All right, hit a few balls and head off.
I have a simulator that was built before I moved into the house, but it's so the couple that owned the house before me were both 5'8". So the first time I went down there, I hit my like a hybrid and I hammered the roof. And so I called the guy. I'm like, am I missing something? He goes, buddy, I'm 5'8". Like, we had no problem with the ceiling, but it's in our basement. It's as high as you can go with the roof. And he said, yeah, all the neighbors, they cut down into the foundation. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So I can hit 5-iron.
You can either get a flatter swing.
I can hit 5-iron down, yeah, or be really flat. But as a result, you sort of, you can sort of get your 5 and what's a real 5, what's a real 6, but and also kill some time in the winter. You want to do it?
Yeah, let's go.
I'm good.
Hi, Mike. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How you doing?
Good.
Is this home?
It is
Yeah, good. Do you get out here much?
3-4 times a week.
Good for you. So this is easy. I'm Mike and he's Michael. So when in doubt, just say, that was a terrible shot, Mike, and we both will respond.
We happened into this game with a retired school teacher named Louise, and Mike couldn't have been nicer with her. I think gave her a USGA ball marker.
Ooh, thank you.
And if Louise was intimidated in the slightest about playing with the CEO of the USGA, there was no evidence of it whatsoever.
All right, that's
Good.
good. Left-handed putter, right-handed swinger.
Well,
Really?
Wow.
didn't notice
That,
that.
yeah, that.
it's a little more complicated, but I won't bore you with it. When I feel the yip coming on, I go lefty.
Did you putt here from here, righty?
I did.
You did? Wow.
Yeah,
Have you seen a psychiatrist?
I should. I haven't. Frank Thomas of the USGA
Yeah.
personally approved this club for USGA play.
What's the loft on that?
19.
Did you take that head off of something else, or was it always built for that?
No,
It's kind of like the rescue club of,
yeah,
right? Like people would hit a
yeah.
hybrid. But you got a putter length shaft on it?
Yes. Good swing. Beauty.
It's got to go too.
You ready to
Can't
go?
tell.
Nice. Ooh, it rolled towards it.
It did good. You know, they kept making clubs after 1995. Were you aware of that? we could get you something born in this this generation.
Oh no. Karsten Solheim told me personally,
And never make a better club than that.
we never made a better club than that.
He had a
But I
good
kinda
heart too. They took good care of the women's game.
Really took, yeah. You probably got to know John, the son.
Very much, yeah. Both Johns.
Both Johns.
But yeah, John the son was really my era, and
Right.
spent a lot of time, a lot of Solheim Cups together.
That's a great event.
Yeah, it really is. It's special. My wife said to me the other day, the only thing I miss about your old job is first tee at the Solheim Cup. And I said, that's a nice thing. That's a nice memory.
Yeah.
Nice. Was that the Magic Club?
That's the Magic Club, or it's supposed to be. Now,
Love it.
This is my absolute greatest claim to fame. Lee Trevino, in his final British Open, 2000 at St. Andrews, put it in his bag without any incentive to do so.
Nice.
Nice.
What a swing.
Nice.
That's
Fly
a
ball.
problem. That's not enough.
But
Fly.
it may make the island. There's a little peninsula there.
You laid up.
I'm short. I didn't know I wanted to be short.
You
but I
laid
did.
up.
Yeah, who knew? Beauty.
Go. Nice. Don't roll.
Just get
don't
Stay
past
roll.
dry.
past those trees.
Yes.
Okay. What would be a rule change that you would make?
Oh, God, you're killing me. Let me think about that. I'll come back to you. I had this conversation with a PGA Tour player once, and he said, you know, if we did rules, and I said, yeah, curious, if you did rules, what would you do? And he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you'd probably bring together talented rules people from all over, right? LPGA, PGA, Korn Ferry, you know, and then you'd have some players there, and you'd have, and he goes, yeah, that's what we do. And I think that's what we do. I said, we don't sit in a room with 4 USGA people and make a rule. You know, we've people from all different tours on that, you know, people from all different parts of the world on that. And it is pretty awe-inspiring to sit in and listen to the process, because people think about a rule change and don't think about the implications of the other parts of the game, and they do. You know, they've walked through it all.
Yeah. You're going to hate this. What would you think about eliminating distance for stroke and distance on OB? Just play white stakes like they're red.
Again, having sat in some of those cases, you just wouldn't want to create unfair advantage for somebody who hits a good drive, you know, where you have people start taking lines on a hole because the penalty's not bad, so they just start
Well,
playing.
you're going to
that.
get a shot. You're just not going to get stroke and distance.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
going to get a shot for being out, but you'll walk
Just
with your ball
red
and just drop it
everything.
where- Yeah, red
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah. Is that your czar change?
That would actually be
Yeah,
my czar
okay.
change. You know why? Because that's how everyone plays anyhow.
Yeah, I was gonna say. And you're definitely a speed player, right? Like, let's go.
It's fun to spend time with somebody like Mike Whan, who you know is loaded with opinion, but also knows there's an appropriate time and a place to share it. And with the camera rolling for an on-the-record interview with Golf.com, it's not the time and place to say, yeah, the OB rule is stupid. Although I will bet you that Mike Whan thinks the OB rule is stupid and would agree with me and millions of others that you should just drop it where it went out.
Super swing.
Turn over. Oh, there's
Oh,
water
no.
there. There's water there.
What kind of four caddy are you?
I didn't know we had water there.
This is Mr. Chippy.
Yeah.
Mr. Chippy.
Not
Miss-
madam?
Mr. Chippy, and that is my favorite club around the green.
This is a great
if
club.
it's low.
Yeah,
I got it at a garage sale for $5.
it's not a bad price.
No.
If you offered 4, they might have taken it.
Wow.
You are very good.
That's going to be snug.
Yep.
That's going to be really snug. Look at that.
That's all right. Mike, what's been a challenge for you coming to this kind of job with administration and a big public role? It's different from some of the other jobs. So in some ways similar to LPGA job, but
It's slower
different
by
level.
design. I mean, you can tell from me. I'm highly caffeinated and move quicker. So when you're at the LPGA, you got to solve this week's problem and get to next week, right? Zip up the bags and get to the next week. So you're making decisions right now to get through that week and make sure you know what you got to do and adjusting for sponsors. But
That's me, thank you.
But when you get to the governance system, it's more like being a congressman. You got to get you got to make sure you're talking to the whole congression as you're moving forward. So it requires a patience that I wasn't born with. That's
right.
and I'm glad I'm surrounded by people that can help me with that. Whether it's starting a new championship, whether it's rules and governance, whether it's plans to expand handicapping, it takes longer. There's more people involved. There's 58 allied golf associations. There's the RNA and sort of the rest of the world. So it just requires a lot more communication and coordination first, and then the action later.
Right.
And I probably came from a place where you made some action, and then you reacted to that action, but it was more quick and on the move.
This guy actually listens, and he takes people in, he sees things, he processes things in original ways, and I think he understands as a starting point, what can we do to make the golf experience better for the literally tens of millions of people in Canada and the United States who love this game as he does, and that gets conveyed in everything that he does, and I think golf's lucky to have him in that role.
A big part of your job, I imagine, is what's the game going to look like 50,
Exactly,
100
yeah.
years from now?
I said this, when I was the commissioner of a sport, you spend a lot of time talking about the future, and you definitely have projects that you work on, but if you're being honest with yourself,
Good shot.
great swing.
Beauty.
They're your Friday afternoon project or your Thursday night project. They're not your 80% of your time thinking about project, and here 80% of your time is thinking about 30 years from now. So it's, and the sport sort of requires you to take on that role, just so somebody does.
What's been the greatest joy of the job?
It's probably, this sounds strange, but it's having a front row seat to people that are literally achieving their dream the minute they're achieving it. I mean, whether it's Wyndham at a U.S. Open, whether that's an adaptive, could be a girls junior. This is these championships are really pinnacle events, dream events. And you're standing there on the 18th green when somebody achieves a dream that they've been working on for years, and and the grind it takes to win a USGA championship, whether both mentally and physical, it's just it's pretty powerful. I mean, I definitely would say the most powerful moment I've had is standing on the first tee of the U.S. Adaptive Open when we started. It's just it's just incredible. But I think every time my wife always says, "Go fill your tank," and she means like go to a championship. Like I watched this happen, and you're working a lot, and you're coming back to your hotel, and you're knocking out 400 emails, but that Sunday just kind of fills your tank, and you're ready to go again. I didn't hit that very good. That's got to go. Go. Coming back in the water? It did? I think the story of this article might be I needed a sleeve of balls to make it through the...
Mike Whan considers water rules changes after.
Yeah. Mike Whan stops at the pro shop on 6 to buy balls.
Oh no.
You with me?
I don't believe it.
That's a good partner. He's just making me feel better.
That is heinous. How would you feel about eliminating rakes and traps?
I wouldn't eliminate rakes and traps, but I'd leave them in traps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think you should ever hit a rake and be safe, but you can hit a rake in a bunker and get kicked out. But
Yep.
I don't like the,
Yep.
you know, it's the rake saved him logic. Uh-oh. Got that too.
The quality that I learned most about Mike Whan during the time that we were together, he actually absorbs the question and answers it. He was present. He wasn't like, oh, I got to get back and like, how long are these guys going to have me for and blah, blah, blah. He was present. I admire it for a lot of reasons because I would like to have more of that in my own life, not always be looking ahead, what's going to come next, just sort of actually absorb the moment.
Teach, it was good playing with you.
Very nice.
My pleasure.
Thank you so
You
much
are
for coming
a
out.
really classy guy.
Well done. I'm not sure that's true. Thank you.
No, I
Appreciate
disagree
it.
with that.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Yes, thank
Really,
you.
really
Hey,
enjoyed
Louise,
being with you.
this year we played the men's U.S. Open at L.A. At LA Country Club and the women's U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. So that head cover has L.A. and Pebble Beach on it, but I'm going to give you that, okay, because you had to live with us today. So that's, you know, this.
My pleasure.
So that was, you know, Pebble for the women, LACC for the men. It was a good year.
In my 50 years in the game, there's never been a moment where the public game is so strong
Yeah.
and the professional game is so screwed up. That's the gentlest way I can word it.
I've said this many times. It's so unfortunate. Obviously, it's unfortunate for the game and for the guys playing it that they're going through that. But if we weren't talking about that 24/7, we'd have to be talking about what's going on in golf. And what's going on in golf sort of gets lost in the mix of piff and money and like you can watch 400 hours of telecast and we won't talk about more women, more African Americans, more juniors. I mean, the game exploding. Like we would have to be talking about the game if we weren't talking about this. And so unfortunately, it's just kind of sucking the oxygen out of the room. It's too bad. But the good news is it's not getting in the way of what's going on in the rest of the game.
I really truly think that whether Mike Whan was playing Augusta National or playing PV Palm Valley or PV Pine Valley, it would all be the same to him because the golf ball is just sitting there doing nothing. And you still have the challenge of getting into the hole in the fewest strokes possible. He genuinely enjoyed being at this mom and pop 9-hole golf course. And that speaks to his love of the game and who he is as a person. And I think it's conveyed in everything that he is doing and will do as the CEO of the USGA. I'm sure you've heard a lot of people say, oh, this is absolutely the wrong time to try to roll back the golf ball. Is there a little part of you like, yeah, I totally get that?
I totally get that. I also would say I was probably the guy 10 years ago saying, why would we be doing this now? The game's not growing. So now there's this group saying, well, the game is growing. Why would you be doing it? Would you rather us wait until the game is flat or declining? You know, and the bigger issue for me is like, I really do. I mean, one of the reasons I took this job at the USGA is the game shaped my life, right? Like it's where I live, it's how I vacation, it's how I raise my kids. Like this game, as much as anything, has been part of shaping my life. I want to make sure that my kids' experience a game at least as good as this one. So when I look at things that 30 or 40 years from now could put the game at risk, not doing something about that would be so offensive to me. So it's one of the reasons I took the job. I can't tell you how many of my friends said, why would you go to the USGA now? You got to go deal with the ball thing. Like, wait until that's over and then take that job. I'm like, why would I step away? Right now is when I want to make sure the right decision is made. I want to make sure the game is great in 50 years.
Well, why would it be bad to have, for super elite golfers, a golf ball that went much shorter so that a 7,000-yard course was still meaningful?
I think you know, if you follow the background, you know, I was pretty bold on an MLR, you know, a model local rule for a golf ball that you could just essentially leave the rest of the recreational game totally untouched. And, you know, like when you were talking to me before about what's different about this job, what's hard about this job, in my old days as commissioner, I would have made that decision, right? And we'd move on. But I'm committed to this job. I always tell people you got to lead in a huddle. Like at the end of the day, somebody's got to call the play, but we got to bring the industry together in a huddle. And the industry feedback to me was so significant and passionate about not breaking this link between what the players play at the highest level and what the amateur plays. So But I mean, if you're personally, I loved the idea of we could make a greater adjustment at the highest end of the game and sort of leave the rest of the game untouched. But I didn't instill my idea. I instituted an idea that I think was better in terms of leading and huddle. But your point's a fair one, and it probably made more sense on paper. But I do think this was an answer more driven by the industry, not driven by just one guy.
Well, what makes sense and what's best for golf, or what's best in terms of consensus building, are not all the same thing. And part of the trick of being in the role that he has is, yeah, you have to lead, but you don't follow, but you help build a consensus. And it's got to be consensus, like a lot of things in politics. You can get a head full of steam about what's the right thing to do, but you might be wrong. And I think he's open to the idea that he might be wrong, and there's a time and a place to listen to other people.
Yeah, that's right. That's ours. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michael.
Incredibly generous with your time.
Yeah,
I
appreciate
really,
it. It was
really
fun today.
appreciate it.
Thanks for the excuse.
Good.
Yeah.